There will be no third debate.
You talk to, big donors in the Republican Party. You're well connected to those in the Republican Party. So from a political standpoint, is it better in their mind that Donald Trump not debate again?
100% on that. I think a lot of the donors, or at least the ones that I was texting with the night of the debate, were not exactly thrilled.
After a traumatized Donald Trump announced that he won't debate Vice President Harris for a second time, a top Republican fundraiser told Fox News on live TV that nervous major GOP donors are relieved because they don't think Trump can defeat Vice President Harris in a debate, and they believe if he tries, he will deal irreparable damage to his own campaign and potentially cost himself the election. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we have several clips to talk about in this video. The humiliation, the fallout from Donald Trump's disastrous debate against the vice president continues to pour in, and I'm loving every second of it, as I know you are as well. So for context, Donald Trump said on Truth Social, and then he even pinned it there, and then he talked about it subsequently at a campaign rally. He says he will not debate the vice president a second time.
I can tell you. So because we've done 2 debates and because they were successful, there will be no third debate.
This crowd's cheering because, of course, they love him and they don't want to see him go through the humiliation they saw him go through on Tuesday. So yes, please, thank God you're not going to do that to yourself and to us by extension. And again, this is actually apparently good news for Republican donors who want Trump to succeed, who want a second Trump administration, but are also savvy enough to recognize that what happened to him on Tuesday was indeed a bitter, brutal humiliation of the former president. So again, a top Republican fundraiser went on Fox News to, I guess, somewhat celebrate the decision.
Or GOP fundraiser. Noel, if you don't mind, I'd like to begin with you first and the fallout. I mean, you talk to big donors in the Republican Party. You're well connected to those in the Republican Party. So from a political standpoint, is it better in their mind that Donald Trump not debate again, that performance he had with Kamala Harris was such that it might not be such a good idea? What do you think?
100% on that. I think a lot of the donors, or at least the ones that I was texting with the night of the debate, were not exactly thrilled about how that debate went down. What I will tell you, I do think it's smart for Donald Trump not to do the debate. I think that that was a good decision with the campaign, and I'll tell you why. Because depending on when that debate will be scheduled, and if he has another repeat performance like he did, I don't know if the campaign can recover that quickly. I don't think they have enough time to recover from that. So you've got to keep in mind we've got 54 days before the election, and if there is another, by the time the debate's set, and by the time it happens, you've got to have ads ready. You've got to, be able to respond to anything that would be negative. So I think due to the timing, the debate, not doing it, I think was a wise decision.
Damn, that is a top Republican fundraiser giving her opinion based on correspondence she had with top GOP donors, telling Fox News on live TV, actually, despite what some Republicans say, and many Republicans are actually upset that Donald Trump will not debate the vice president a second time because they want or believe that he could redeem a disastrous first performance. They're like, please, for the love of God, you need a mulligan, you need a Hail Mary, do something different. Apparently, this GOP fundraiser is quite pleased. She thinks it's smart. She thinks that it's actually a good move by Trump because clearly she doesn't think that Trump and a second performance against the vice president would do any better. And she thinks that another repeat performance would deal irreparable damage to Trump's struggling campaign. That has to hurt. Donald Trump obsessively watches the Fox Propaganda Network, and he obsessively watches Neil Cavuto, even though he hates Cavuto and has repeatedly complained about him in public, because Cavuto is one of the few Fox hosts who will occasionally criticize Donald Trump and pose tough questions to Trump surrogates and Trump allies. And that sort of reality check doesn't compute very well with the upper echelons of MAGA world, let alone Trump himself. But he still keeps an eye on what Cavuto has to say. And so for a top Republican fundraiser, a person whose job it is professionally to raise funds to secure Republican victories, a person who clearly wants Donald Trump to win. This isn't a Democratic fundraiser saying this. This is a Republican fundraiser saying, hell yeah, this is the right decision because he whiffed it on Tuesday. He'd probably whiff it again. And if he does it too close to the election, this could cost him everything. That betrays a startling lack of confidence that the Republican establishment, that Republican operatives and Republican donors, the people who cut the checks, have in Donald Trump, which is a further indictment of his obvious cognitive deficits. Now, I'm going to play a couple of clips of RFK Jr. That you've seen before. I've covered them in a previous video, but it's relevant to the last clip I'm going to play. We got to set the stage. So Robert F. Kennedy Jr. ran as a third-party independent. He viciously criticized Donald Trump, even as early or recently as just a few months ago, making a very compelling case as to why Donald Trump is manifestly unfit to be president of the United States. And then, of course, because it was more convenient for him, he effectively suspended his campaign. He ended his campaign for all intents and purposes and publicly endorsed Trump and is appearing as a Trump surrogate in the media. And he also went on Cavuto and, even he admitted that Donald Trump lost that debate, did not do particularly well. And again, that's very relevant to the last clip I'm going to play. But here's a reminder.
I think that Vice President Harris clearly won the debate in terms of her delivery, her polish, her organization, and her preparation. I think on substance, President Trump wins in terms of his governance.
And again, that's coming from a guy who said that Donald Trump is manifestly unfit to be president, in part, and I read this in the video, we discussed this, because he was such a disastrous president. That's RFK Jr.'s assessment. He wrote that back in late May, that Trump was, it's not even about character so much that Trump was just a terrible executive. Now, of course, he's saying, Trump's record of governance is good and he wins on the substance, so he's a flip-flopper. But again, it's important to remember that guy went on Fox News to say that Trump lost the debate. It's very relevant to the last clip. A couple more, though.
But he got distracted. Yeah. And I think it's unfortunate because I think he really had an airtight argument for his presidency, but he was not able to make that case to the American public.
Again, just the staggering hypocrisy of RFK Jr., the lack of principle. It'd be one thing to say, no, he was a disastrous president, but you know what? He was less disastrous than President Biden, which isn't true. President Biden's been a very good president, particularly on domestic policy, but you could at least make that case and be principled and consistent with what you previously assessed about the Trump administration. Now, RFK Jr. is flip-flopping for the sake of political expedience, but he can't quite bring himself to say that Trump won the debate. Again, very relevant to this last clip. One more, though.
Right. But I would suspect that the polling over the next week is going to show, probably a slight drop in his support, particularly among independents.
So to recap, that's RFK Jr., Trump surrogate, Trump endorser, saying that Trump lost the debate, that Vice President performed better, that Donald Trump did not articulate a message, and also that the polls will reflect that. The reason that that's important is that top Republican fundraiser now speculates that appearance by RFK Jr. on Neil Cavuto's show on Fox will actually cost RFK Jr. any cushy position he was seeking to secure in a second Trump administration, because Trump will likely see that as a betrayal.
Well, if you're talking about RFK and what he said, I don't think he will have a role anymore going forward. If this is what he came out and said, that he thought that he lost the debate, it wasn't his best debate, and that he may have lost independent votes. That is not the Trump campaign spin. The Trump campaign spin is that basically it was 3 against 1, that the moderators and Ms. Harris were totally against him. They headed out for him, and that if he asked everybody, looking at everything that he has, that he's totally came out ahead and he won the debate, and why, that she wants another debate because she felt like she lost and he won. That is the Trump spin. Trump never admits anything negative. Trump is always going to say that he came out the winner no matter what the situation came out in. He is the winner, and this is how, Trump and the Trump campaign spins it. So the sheer fact that somebody is a surrogate and somebody is, kind of part of the Trump campaign cap, meaning RFK Jr. saying that he did not win, I would not look for RFK Jr. to have any role if Donald Trump wins.
Yeah.
I agree. I think it is unlikely. I mean, listen, Donald Trump is he's capricious. He's mercurial, right? There is a degree of unpredictability in the sense of whom he will forgive. Typically, my general rule of thumb for Trump is that Trump will, in the short term, forgive those who bend the knee to him. So you can insult him, as many Republicans have, like Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz and J.D. Vance, for God's sake, his current running mate, said very honest, accurate things about Trump, but that Trump would interpret as malicious lies, and they did so in public. And now, as soon as they bend the knee and kiss the ring and acknowledge him as the sovereign over their lives, he'll use them in the short term. So I want to be very clear. I'm not expecting that Trump will come out and just totally torpedo RFK Jr., although he might do that. He's done stuff like that before. I expect, though, that if Donald Trump, God forbid, were to win this election and the division of the spoils, like the spoils are divided, like who gets what position in the Trump administration, I expect RFK Jr. will come up empty-handed, or he'll have to do something utterly debasing and humiliating to further demonstrate his loyalty to Trump, because that's usually the price you pay for Trump, or to Trump rather, for even a temporary betrayal. So anyway, I love to see this division in the Trump camp, the MAGA camp. I love the fact that, some MAGA Republicans, many MAGA Republicans want Trump to debate the vice president again because they genuinely believe, or they're hopeful, that he could eke out a win in a rematch, although I suspect most people recognize he couldn't. And here you have a major Republican player on the financial side of things, and Donald Trump is outclassed in terms of fundraising, despite the billionaire support he has from the likes of Elon Musk. The vice president is, kicking his ass when it comes to fundraising. Week after week after week, month after month. That could change, but right now it is the case. And so Trump needs the scratch. He needs the money. And so to hear that actually, the GOP donors were not happy about how terribly he performed, and they're so relieved that he's not doing it again because they don't think that he can win, I love to hear that too. Either way, it humiliates Trump, and that's good news for America. So in the meantime, you let me know what you think in the comments.